Chapter 1, I think I might have a problem, Natasha said as she slid into the booth opposite her friend. Her comment was greeted with a raised eyebrow. Something specific, or should I just guess? Funny. She picked up the menu and began to look through it. What are you having? A wrap? You? Sounds good, I'll have the same. The first lady caught the waitress's eye and gave their order. So what's the problem? Pregnant? That would be a problem. No, it's Martin. He told me he wants me to stop seeing other guys. AA. I see how you might have a problem. Told you? Told asked? He made it clear that he wants me to stop. What did you say? She shrugged. I told him I would think about it. Asked him why. And? Asham. He thinks it's time we moved our relationship on. What's changed? You've been casually dating since before you two were married. Why has he got concerned now? I don't know. I've been trying to think if anything is different or something happened, but I'm coming up blank. Hence why you're here. Yup. I need someone I can talk this through with. You know our circumstances and you've got my back. Friends before boyfriends, girl. The two women chuckled. The waitress came to their table carrying their drinks. They watched her put them down. Thanked her, waiting until she was out of earshot before continuing. When are you next going out? I'm seeing Charles Friday. Natasha took a sip of her drink through the straw she watched her friend thinking. What? How long have you been seeing Charles now? Natasha thought for a moment, mentally calculating it. 6 months or so. That's a while. I remember that the original agreement was that it would be short-term flings, not relationships. Natasha paused, thinking about her friend's comment. Maybe. I've been seeing him a while. There's attraction and I enjoy the way he makes me feel, but he struggles to have a meaningful conversation. She shook her head. I don't think that's it, Aang. I've had longer relationships and ones where I've developed strong feelings. Remember Ramon? Ramon, the Argentinian super stud. I do remember. I remember you never gave me his number when you ended things with him. Natasha laughed with genuine glee. He was special. More special than Charlie, and I think Martin knows that while I do have some feelings, he's not a threat to our marriage. If it's not that, then I don't know. Since when has Martin had the courage to have this conversation? Natasha shrugged. It sure caught me by surprise. He was sitting at the table on Monday when I got home from work. He had been doodling and had a glass of wine he'd been drinking. I was exhausted from work. He made dinner and we ate. Conversation was the same as ever, nice and light, chit-chatty. She took a sip of her drink. We ate, we talked about our days. Well, I talked about my day. Then he said he needed to have a serious conversation with me. He laughed. He actually laughed and he said, I remember exactly what he said because he said it like it was a quote or something. He said, honey, we have to talk. Angela shook her head. Over my head. I know, right? Half of what he says is just nonsense, but he finds it funny. So I asked him what about, and he told me he loved me, but that he'd like me to give up seeing other guys. Give monogamy a chance. Improve our marriage. What did you say? First, I went with a bit of clarification. Are we talking about this week? Or forever, everyone? He said everyone. He thinks I should have gotten my flings out of my system, and that it's time to have a mature marriage. No one else, no cheating, no swinging, no open marriage, no other men, just the two of us. He called it cheating. Natasha nodded. Wow, he has really changed. Natasha laughed. You say that, but he was wearing a rose-pink nail polish and a feminine top that matched. Got to love him. Such a nice guy. How do you feel about all this? I'm not completely sure. Part of me is like audacious jerk, trying to set rules for me. Another part is admiration. I know it couldn't have been an easy conversation for him. Part of me is curious about why and what this would mean. I'm a bit angry and resentful as well. I don't know if this is the kind of marriage I want. I'm uncertain. Could you do it? Give up the guys and be monogamous for the rest of your life? Natasha shrugged. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to. It's a lot to give up. Thank you, Angela. I'm not that promiscuous. He hasn't given me an ultimatum, them or me. He's just said he'd like me to give them up. More a request, definitely not an order. Could even be seen as a suggestion. It took a lot of searching to find him and get him to accept how you wanted things. I know. I feel that I've put a lot of effort into him. I'm kind of like, do I really want to go through that process of training a man again? It was fun. It was fun. Definitely. I'm looking forward to when you meet the man of your dreams and we get to have fun with him. The idea of losing that time investment is disappointing. The two ladies stopped talking as the waitress came over carrying their plates. The conversation resumed once she was a distance away, occupied with another table. What do you think he'll do next? My guess is he'll wait to see what I do and then make his next move. Then bring it up again. That's my guess. Predictably conventional. I'm not going to do anything different. I'll wait for him to speak up and tell him I need more information. Distance yourself? Yep. Keep the subject open, nothing changes, all straightforward, but no progress. I think that will buy me some time. Then, when we finish discussing it, I'll ask him about timing and commitment and make it even longer. Lots of "we're making progress" in similar phrases? Yup. I'm a lawyer, I'll keep him thinking that he's making progress going nowhere until we turn 90. Poor little Marty. Poor little Marty, my foot. So, you seeing Charles on Friday? Going to his place for some fun. Does he take you out at all? No, Martin does all the whining and dining. The weekend getaways, the trips to the theater and all the fancy stuff. Martin does the romantic gestures, the dates, making me feel special. Charles just picks me up, drops me off, and takes me to Cloud 9 in between. The two ladies laughed. He is a good husband. He's a really good one. I have no complaints with him. He's everything I was hoping for when I agreed to marry him. He looks good, he takes care of the apartment. His small business is doing well, he doesn't cost me anything. He's good in bed. Romantic, and he gives me all the time and attention I could ever want. I am the center of his world and he lets me know it. Plus, he lets you see other guys and still loves you. Natasha nodded. I want what I have, Aang. I don't want to give up Martin, and I don't want to give up dating other guys. Do you want me to come over on Friday and keep Martin company? Give him a fun evening. Are you okay with that? You don't have any plans? Angela shook her head. I can't this Friday. I'm busy Saturday, but next Friday is free. Are you sure you don't mind? It'll be fun. I'll tease him, give him a really enjoyable, really girly evening. I'll make sure he has a great time. Hopefully this will just blow over. A bit of love and a bit of indifference. He'll forget and I'll continue. Worst case scenario, he brings it up again and I'll keep dragging it out. He'll give up before I do. The two ladies lifted their glasses in a toast. To a happy husband who follows orders. Chapter 2. There was a knock at the door, and Martin hurriedly made his way across the apartment to answer it. He slipped on the wooden floor in his socks, skidding slightly, before pulling the door open. Hey Angela, you look great, very stylish. Come in. He stepped aside to let her enter and closed the door behind her. I'll let Natasha know you're here. I have to admit, I didn't think you were going out with her tonight. I thought she was seeing the spaniel. The spaniel? King Charles. He walked away quickly as she laughed at his words. Martin headed back into the bedroom. Hey honey, Angela's here. Natasha emerged from their en-suite bathroom, wrapping a towel around herself after taking a shower. What's up? Angela's here. Oh, all right. Natasha sat down on the edge of the bed and began drying her feet with a towel she had in her hands. Martin looked at her, wondering if she had heard him correctly. Deciding not to dwell on it, he continued getting ready. He had already showered and was just finishing up his hair. Satisfied with how it looked, he started putting on the shirt he had chosen from the closet. It was a form-fitting shirt that accentuated his physique. He liked how it made him look and feel. He didn't plan on wearing a tie after all. This was a date, not a business meeting. He went over to his closet and grabbed his favorite watch, sliding it onto his wrist. Picking up his jacket, he put it on and checked his reflection in the mirror. Aren't you a bit overdressed? Natasha asked. He turned to look at her, realizing she had now gotten up from the bed. He waited for her response, unsure if she had been paying attention. What? No, why? You don't need a suit for Angela, it won't impress her. I'm not going out with Angela. She's here for you. Natasha shook her head. I apologize. That was rude of me. You're right, I didn't inform you. I arranged for Angela to come over as a surprise for you. Martin adjusted his cuffs and slipped his feet into his polished black shoes. He bent down and tied the laces carefully and slowly. Standing back up, he smoothed out his outfit. I'm going out. Will you be back tonight, or are you spending the night with him? What? Where are you going? Martin didn't answer. He just looked at her calmly. She was still in a towel, standing at the end of their bed. She looked beautiful. Her hair was wet, slightly towels from the towel drying. Her skin was rosy and fresh, and he could catch a hint of her body wash. He waited for her to speak. "I asked you a question." "Where are you going, Martin?" "Nat, I'm waiting for you to answer my question. Are you coming home tonight?" There was a brief pause before Natasha let out a short laugh. Lately, he had been playing this kind of game. "Probably not. I'll see you for lunch tomorrow." "Are we sticking to our usual plan?" Martin smiled at her. "I'm happy to." "Now, to answer your question, I have a date. See you tomorrow. Love you." With that, he hugged her and quickly walked out of the bedroom. "Angela, I let her know you're here. If you want, you can go to the bedroom. She's seen it all before. Don't bother putting any tricks on her. Chuckles doesn't show affection." Angela chuckled. "I'm not here for her, I'm here for you. We're spending the evening." He didn't respond. Instead, he turned, winked, and left the room. Angela stared at the closed door in disbelief before making her way to the bedroom. What just happened? Has he gone?" Angela nodded. "Just walked out, didn't even say hello. I'll call him. He mentioned he was going on a date." Angela started laughing, but quickly ceased when she noticed the expression on her friend's face. Natasha picked up her phone and dialed Martin's number. Both women heard the phone ringing on the bedside table. He forgot his phone. He'll be back in a minute when he realizes. Or Nat, he purposely left it because he didn't want to talk to us. The room fell silent as the two women contemplated their words. "He said he was going on a date. Do you think he actually is?" Angela shook her head and laughed. "Come on, Nat, you're top-notch. He's lucky to have you. The chances of him finding someone as great as you are extremely slim. He loves you, he wouldn't risk losing you." "I know, but that was completely out of character." "Did he say anything else?" Natasha shook her head. "To be honest, I wasn't paying much attention to what he was doing. I just assumed he was getting ready, waiting for me to leave." "Did you mention that I was coming over?" "No, I wanted it to be a surprise for him. A night with you while I enjoy myself. Just like old times." "Did he say anything to you about it, you know?" "No, we went out on Tuesday and everything was the same as usual. No indication of it coming up. Yesterday we stayed in. He cooked and we talked about work. Same old Martin. Then tonight he goes on a date." "Do you really think it's a date?" Angela shook her head. "If I had to guess, I think he's bluffing." Natasha thought for a moment before responding. "I don't know. My concern is that he's trying to prove a point. Is this about me and Charles? What's good for me is good for him. But why go on a date? If that's the case, why not address the issue directly? Why not discuss it with me? He's a coward. I couldn't believe it when you told me that he had the nerve to ask you to stop seeing other men." Natasha laughed at Angela's remark. "I love him to death, but I have to agree with you. Cheeky guy. You on your way out with Charles?" Natasha nodded, sorting through her wardrobe to pick out her outfit for the evening. She wasn't sure what to wear. "Nat, don't stress over it. Whatever you put on will probably end up on the floor a few minutes after you get to his place. If you're going to wear something, choose something that won't wrinkle easily and doesn't require much folding." The two women looked at each other and laughed. Natasha picked out a simple dress and slipped it on. She added accessories to make it more special. "Sorry for changing our plans, Aang. Do you have anything else to keep you occupied?" "Nah, I was actually looking forward to teasing Marty. It's been a while, but I used to really enjoy it." He hated it. "You know that, right? That's why I stopped asking you to do it. He said it made things worse." "LWOBO. I thought he kind of enjoyed it. He was so unbelievably cute. I'd dress him up and make him imagine what you were doing with your lovers. I'd play with his mind, making him envision different scenarios. He'd get aroused, and I'd give him a bit of teasing." She paused for a moment, thinking back. "Damn it, Nat, I was really looking forward to tonight. He's incredibly handsome, and it's so much fun to play with him like that. I'd tease him endlessly, making him feel inadequate compared to the other men in your life. I'd make him question if he was man enough for you." "That sounds pretty mean." "Oh yeah," Angela mocked, "really mean. Remember when you had me record our session with him? Do you still have that recording? You said listening to me tease him about your date was even more of a turn-on than your actual date. Wasn't that it?" Natasha laughed. "I haven't listened to that recording in a while. We should make another one." I'll be honest, the idea of taking it up a notch with him is getting me all hot. Yeah, I used to love it. Glad I'm not alone. I'm disappointed he didn't enjoy it. I thought he did. Natasha shook her head as she replied. No, he really resented it. When I told him he needed a babysitter so he wouldn't spend the whole night imagining me with other men. The hurt in his eyes, the emotional sting, he played it up so well. He's good at acting betrayed and wounded. You should find a man of your own, Aang. I'll help you train him and break him. Asham, I don't know, Nat. It's fun with Martin, but when I do settle down, I want it to be genuine. You know, love, respect, a simple life together, absolute loyalty. Oh wow, that's surprising, I thought. Interesting, you just want a regular, happy marriage? I thought you liked a more extravagant relationship. I love your marriage, but I don't want to hurt my partner. I don't know if that makes sense. If I'm marrying someone and they're with me, I want us both to be happy. I don't want to cause pain or heartache. Not like we do with Martin. I thought you enjoyed it, that it turned you on. Angela nodded as Natasha spoke. I do. I really enjoy it. Seeing him try to reconcile the idea of you being with other men with the commitment you have, it's so exciting to think about. I've seen him cry, doubt himself, question his own masculinity. I've twisted the knife you put into him slowly and carefully, and it's been intoxicating. Playing with him like that gets me incredibly aroused, but I always worry that we could go too far and cause some real harm. Either to him or your marriage. I care about him and I care about your marriage, and I don't want to ruin either. It's fun, but it has its limits. Natasha checked the time on her bedside clock. Aang, I have to get going, but I think there's more to discuss on this topic. Chapter 3. It was a date. Natasha sat down facing Angela. Angela switched off her phone and turned it face down on the table next to her. The server handed menus to the two ladies and walked away. Angela raised an eyebrow in response. I look forward to hearing about this. Bad Martin. Natasha nodded her head. She put her bag and phone on the table and began to look through the menu. They gave their orders and the drinks arrived at the table. So? Angela inquired, a hint of playfulness in her tone. Natasha heard it and shook her head. Don't. I'm not amused. Why? Isn't it good for your ego that your husband is attractive to other women? Aang. The tone conveyed the warning. Okay, tell me all about it. He went out with some journalist. Did he give her name? Yep, Aisha. Sounds exotic. I don't know. He didn't say much about her, just that she contacted him about his company and some new contract they'd recently signed. That's how he met her. What new contract? I don't know. I expect he's told me. I tend to zone out when he's talking about his little life or his little company. He thinks it's a lot more interesting than it is. Apparently, this contract was a big enough deal for him to be interviewed by her. Did you go home Friday night or do your usual? I was a little bit off my game. But Martin being weird isn't going to stop me having fun. I stayed the night with Charles and met Martin down at the quayside for lunch as usual. How was he? Absolutely glorious. Cool, confident, and has the moves to pick any girl. We've been together for long enough for him to know what I like and what I don't. Natasha sat back with a triumphant grin on her face. She shrugged before continuing. Same Martin as ever. He asked how I was, how my evening was. Curiously, he never seems to want details of what we were doing. The two women laughed. We had a nice lunch, walked around town for a bit, stopped for a coffee and cake late afternoon, and then home. He cooked Thai green curry, and we vegged out in the evening. Sunday was nice. We went for a drive, had lunch out, and then spent the rest of the afternoon in bed together. Sounds very normal, like most weekends. It was. He was his usual self. I didn't notice anything different. He knows what I like and he delivered. It was good. It's always good with him. So what did he say about his date? He didn't really. He answered my questions, but he didn't really tell me too much. Keeping it private? No, I think he was honest with me. If anything, he's protecting me. I get the impression that if I have a question, he'll answer it. But he doesn't want to hurt me. He's a good guy. He is a good guy. What did he say? I've told you her name. She's a journalist and they met when she interviewed him. She approached him. He said no. Yet ended up on a date with her. Yeah. He said that if I give up my crushes, he'll stop seeing her. He's fed up waiting for me to stop playing around. Our marriage is at a critical point. Either it moves forward or it ends. Now, if I was going to have fun, he was going to as well. A deal? You give up yours, he gives up his? That's his play? Not exactly. I thought it was. He said it was more nuanced. He wants to be in a marriage where we're growing closer, where children are being discussed, where there is a sense that the relationship has a future. Okay, Angela drawled slowly. His date is a backup plan or a threat to bring you to the table? I guess kind of both. He said he didn't feel we were moving forward. He wants us to work on improving our marriage. He thinks that I have had enough time to explore other interests and it's time to commit properly. Be a true partner, not just someone going along for the ride. Angela was nodding as Natasha spoke. Their food came to the table and they smiled at the waitress as she placed it on the table. But he went on a date with her regardless. Doesn't that undermine his argument? I hadn't stopped seeing Charles. He isn't sure just how committed I am to marriage with him. He wants more than what I am giving him. A threat that if I don't give it to him, he'll find it somewhere else. Bold move. I didn't think he had that much confidence. Natasha nodded, chewing. She covered her mouth, swallowing her food before she spoke. I didn't ask. I'll be honest, I didn't want to. I don't think he did. In fact, I'm sure he didn't. Just not that kind of guy, is he? Natasha shook her head. No, he's a doll. I did ask what they did, where they went. He took her to an arcade and then they went for a meal afterwards. He did what? It was a first date. He took her to an arcade. Doesn't he want to have fun? Natasha laughed. I was slightly less judgmental when he told me. I just told him it was an interesting choice. But she works for a video game magazine and it was some kind of virtual reality zombie thing. Virtual reality zombies? Didn't we teach him anything? Angela slapped her forehead in mock exasperation, but there was a smile on her lips. He said that they had a great time. He even offered to take me. I rolled my eyes. Nat, he's got a sense of humor. You have to give him that. He said there was no hugging. He is such a Boy Scout. Can you imagine her going on a date with Charles or Ramon? Both ladies laughed. I don't think Charles has had a first date that didn't end up in bed. They ate for a few minutes in companionable silence. Is he going to see her again? Angela asked. Natasha nodded. He told me that he was. Friday night. 1 date a week. That's slow, even for Martin, that's slow. He set it up for when I see Charles. I don't think he wants his dates to interfere with our time together, but he wants me to get the message. So, what's the worry? You have Charles, he has his little girlfriend. If it looks like trouble, you sort it out. Natasha looked at her for a long, silent moment before she responded. That is not how my marriage works. In what world does my husband get a girlfriend? That is messed up. You have a bit of fun outside the marriage, he has a bit. Natasha shook her head. Yeah, I'm not okay with that. I've always had a bit of fun, you know that. He knows that. But him? I don't think so. So why is he risking it? If he values you, why is he taking a chance? I didn't ask him. I think you need to, Nat. Martin is lucky to be married to you. I think it's disrespectful for him to go out and get himself a girlfriend. He has you, he should be appreciating what he has. Being grateful, not trying to stir up trouble. That's a good point, Aang. I've made sure he knows I love him and that my friendships are not a threat to our marriage. What gives him the right to have a girlfriend? Or to dictate what our marriage should be? Angela nodded in agreement. I have to say, Nat, he did dress up nice for his date. I thought he looked good. I know, Natasha replied. I've taught him how to look good. It doesn't seem particularly fair you've spent the time training him to actually be attractive to women, and yet some other woman gets the benefit. Natasha laughed. Let's see how this plays out, but right now I'm not amused. Chapter 4. Okay, so they've gotten close. You're kidding me, right? I don't know. I think you need to stop this now. If they're getting too close, that is crossing a major line. Natasha shook her head, her dark curls bouncing attractively. She had ordered a drink at the bar before she joined her friend at the table, and she could see her friend already had a drink. Get real, Aang. I said they've gotten close, not they're in a relationship. This is my Martin. Angela laughed. What have they done? Held hands, hugged. They went camping together. Get lost. Camping? Sharing a sleeping bag? No. He told me before they went that they were in 2 different tents. Natalie said, pulling a disapproving face. You're kidding, right? He took his little girlfriend camping and they had 2 separate tents. He is the lamest cheating husband I've ever heard of. I know, Aang. If he wasn't my husband, I'd be rolling on the floor laughing. I'm actually a bit embarrassed. As my husband, he should be impressive, yet here we are. Where did they go camping? He took her to some hills and they camped out, whatever that means, and they saw a meteor shower. He's had 2 dates. Natasha shook her head. No, there's more than that. He sees her every week. I think they're up to date number 4. I remember the zombie thing. There was the zombie arcade thing. Apparently that wasn't a game like a video game. No? What was it then? Immersive theater. He took her to this place where people dress up as zombies and act like they're attacking, and they survive for as long as they can. Weird. I know. I could just about live with the idea of a zombie video game, but in real life. Natasha shuddered. The zombie date, they went canoeing and had a picnic. That sounds quite nice. Not my idea of a date. Getting all sweaty. How can you say that? All you ever do with Charles is get sweaty. Both ladies laughed at that. Very different kind of sweaty, I can assure you. Their 3rd date was some guy giving a lecture at the university. He took her out for dinner afterwards. He went to a class for a date? Natasha shrugged. What can I say? He knows how to show a girl a good time. Part of me thinks I should be giving him some advice on how to date a girl. The 2 women snickered at her remark. Really random dates. Angela made little air quote movements with her fingers as she continued. No wonder he's so slow to get close. I wouldn't worry. To me, it sounds like she's playing him. Hello, Mr. Friendzone. He said they'd hugged. Hugged? I hug my dad, I hug my mom. What's a hug? You do a bit more than hugging with Charlie. I remember how he was with me, Aang. He was very cautious. I had to make just about all the moves on him. He's always known that he was lucky to have you. We've reminded him of that again and again. His insecurity and low self-esteem is what's given you the freedom you've had. I know, but it feels like he's slipping away from me. I thought you were going to assert yourself. Have a serious conversation with him. I tried. I sat him down after a meal and explained to him that I wasn't happy with what he was doing. Right. I hope he apologized. How is he still dating her? What was it he said? Natasha reflected for a moment before she answered. Me having other lovers was me not fully committing to our marriage. That him not fully committing despite me being his wife damaged our relationship. I think I have that right. She paused, holding up a hand to stop Angela from asking the question. He asked why I was expecting him to put a lot of effort into our marriage when I was holding back. He said it was time he had to do some thinking about what he wanted from the marriage. When Aisha originally made a move, he said he just turned her down without thinking about it. He was intrigued, but he said no. He then thought about it and decided to try it and see what that trial changed in the marriage. It might change him, it might change me, but he was willing to risk our current marriage because it's not fulfilling for him. Not fulfilling for him? I know it didn't feel good hearing that. Do you care? There was a pause. I think I do. He's a good husband, a great husband in many ways. He really does love me, I'm sure of that. He's not the most attractive guy, but he puts me at the center of his world. Okay, if the cost of keeping him is giving up Charles and all future Charleses, are you prepared to pay it? The pause was noticeably longer before Natalie responded. I don't know. That's what makes this so difficult. How about you give up Charles, work on the marriage, and then go and find another Charles? I don't know. I don't think Martin would be happy with that. He might not like what I do with Charles and the other guys, but I've always been honest with him. He's known he doesn't like it, but it's not a secret. I think if I was doing it in secret, that would cause bigger problems for us. I like it. It's not the cheating that's the problem. It's the secrecy. Secrecy, lies, lack of trust, betrayal. All that. Right now, we don't have that. He knows I'm dating around. He knows when and with whom. He trusts me. I don't want to lose that trust. That would destroy our marriage faster than anything else. You two have one messed up marriage. No, we had a marriage that worked. But he's changed and now it doesn't work for him. Now he started dating, using my dating as an excuse to justify his. His dating has changed the dynamic. I don't know what that means for us. I'm worried. This has worked for me, not just while we've been married, but even before. I don't get it, Nat. One moment you're worried, the next moment you're not. Which is it? That's the problem. I'm torn. I don't want to lose him, and I don't want to give up my freedom. I don't think he'll end our marriage. because he loves me. I have no doubt about that. However, for him to go outside our marriage and actually start dating someone, that's a big change. It's a very bold move for him, Nat. Your logical move is to give up Charles. Let him go, get Martin to end things with her, and strengthen your marriage. I know. But part of me doesn't want to. Why should I? I'm the attractive one, the breadwinner. He should be grateful to be with me. Why should he be the one making all the decisions in our marriage? Forget him then. There was passion in Angela's voice as she spoke. Continue seeing Charles. You're right. You're a 10 and he's an 8, maybe 8.5 at best. That rating has gone up. You used to say he was a 7. Heck, when we first met him, you scored him a 6. He was short, scrawny, a total nerdy little weirdo. Yuck. Angela's face contorted to emphasize her words. But now he's an 8.5. What can I say? We've elevated him. Now he knows what he's doing. He's quite attractive. He's stopped being such a nerd, gotten past all the embarrassment and self-consciousness that made him such a dweeb. The whole cross-dressing androgynous vibe, he rocks it. He has style now. Our work. Our work. Angela raised her glass and toasted Natasha. You can do better. Charles is what? A solid 9.5 or 10? In looks, not in personality. Out of bed, he has no charisma. He's more like a 5 in personality. Then why? Natalie paused for a moment before answering. Because he's attractive and he knows it. It makes him difficult to deal with, but his alpha male kind of thing is very appealing. Valid point. It's a tough choice, giving up your 9.5 lover for an 8 husband. That's why it's difficult. He's an 8, maybe 8.5 in looks, but a 9, 9.5 as a husband. Put that way, Martin has the advantage. I know. I'm painfully aware. He also has time on his side. Time? Angela steepled her fingers and peered over them as she asked for clarification. I'm getting older. Even with all the work and luck in the world, my looks will fade. I think Martin will stay good-looking and maybe even get better with time. I would like to have kids, not yet, but in a few years, and that will change the way I look. Girl, you're in your early 30s. You don't have to worry about children for a few years yet. As for your looks, you're still a 10. Natasha preened herself at Angela's words and the two women laughed again. I know, but Martin keeps pressuring me about having kids. He's been asking for a few years now, on and off. He's a little pest. Children, giving up other men, working on your marriage. When will his demands stop? He's getting conventional. I preferred him when we first got married. Heck, when we got engaged. Best proposal ever. Do you remember? Angela giggled. Oh, hell yeah, he proposed to you, all romantic. A lovely meal in your favorite restaurant. Both of you dressed up and looking good, and your response to him was your choice, not mine. I remember the look on his face. He didn't understand at all. I told him, wait for me at home. I'll be home tomorrow. Mid-morning tomorrow, and you can decide whether you want to marry me. I'll marry you, but it is your choice whether we get married or not. And then you came home to him the next day. He was waiting in the kitchen, sitting at the table. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. I just walked past him into the bedroom and told him to make a choice. Kudos to Martin, he made his choice. Yup, he knew I had been with someone else. But you cried afterwards. He did. He got upset when he realized you had filmed it all. I thought we'd lost him at that point, but he eventually calmed down. I love that video. I think I'm going to go home and watch it this afternoon. Natasha laughed as she listened, remembering the power she had felt making him surrender to her. Angela thought for a moment, her smile slowly leaving her face. Since then, he's been pushing back, slowly but holding his ground. Natasha nodded. I hadn't really thought of it like that. But yeah, he has. Not big fights, not complete refusals. Some of it, just not being around when I've wanted to do things. Some of it has been using the time, like Tuesday nights. We used to have them as fun nights, if you remember. But he's changed them so we do other things now. Clever. Do you think it was intentional from him? Now we're talking about it. Yes, I do. He's never even hugged another guy again. I can't remember the last time that we went out with him fully dressed up. He doesn't help me get ready anymore. He stopped that? Wow. Natasha held her hands up. I stay overnight with Charles. Sneaky guy. Angela laughed. He's convinced you to stay overnight with Charles each week. You didn't realize that he's gotten himself out of helping you get ready. You're right. She shook her head as she realized just how much their marriage had changed. Now he's pressuring you to give up men and have his children. Sounds like you're his partner now rather than the other way around. It does, it really does. Cheeky guy. What are you going to do? Not give up Charles, that's for sure. I think I need to be clear to him about what he risks by seeing someone else. Cut him off for a couple of weeks. Now that's an idea. I like it. Girl, I'm buying your next one. I'm going to say no and see if he likes hearing the darn word as much as he likes saying it. Chapter 5, Hey Hey Baby Doll. A menu was handed over and two ladies faced each other across a table in a booth at the back of the restaurant. You look good. You too. I don't feel it. I couldn't tell from looking at you. Marty still causing trouble? He's turning into a right pain. Did you do what I asked? Angela tapped a folder next to her with a long nail. All in there. The whole 9 yards. Everything you have ever wanted to know about Ms. Aisha Harper and a few things you probably didn't. Thank you. My absolute pleasure. Let's order, and then we can plan and scheme. The waitress came, food and drinks were chosen and delivered to the table to a soundtrack of catching up and small talk. So spill the beans. What is going on now? I'm losing him. I'm actually losing Marty. I genuinely don't know if I can salvage things. Darn. Girl, it's been what, a week since we last spoke. How has he managed to get you so rattled? After last week I went home and had a serious talk with him. A proper heart-to-heart. I waited until he had dinner on the table, and then I took charge of the conversation. Forget small talk. I wanted to make him aware of the negative impact his new relationship was having on our marriage. Angela nodded. I took some time to think at work, and I decided, just like I would organize a project plan, I would organize the conversation. Smart move. Take back control. Exactly. Control the narrative. Somehow, he's managed to get me reacting to him. It was time to reestablish my authority. Show him I can say no just as effectively as he can. You had a plan, you prepared yourself. I like your approach. Put an end to Marty's little rebellion, right? So, he serves up and sits down and I tell him that I'm not happy with him seeing his girlfriend and I want it to stop. Good start. Clear, direct statement of what you want. I explained to him that my activities don't harm the marriage because I am careful in how I approach them and I value our marriage. Smart thinking, challenge his perspective. Exactly. These have been part of our marriage from the beginning. He understood about them and I reminded him of what things used to be like. Angela nodded for Natasha to continue as she picked at her sandwich. I explained that he didn't have my permission to date, that his dating was a change to our marriage that threatened it, because he doesn't have the experience to keep emotions out of it, and if he develops feelings for this woman, that could threaten your life together. See? It's simple, isn't it? His dating and my activities may sound similar, but there's a big difference. She took a sip of her drink before she continued. I understand that this is the first time he's done something like this, and that he probably didn't mean to upset me. But his recent behavior was endangering our marriage and he needed to stop. He probably thought he could do the same as me, but he didn't think it through. I love him, value my marriage to him, and I wasn't going to let him ruin it with his lack of awareness. What did he say to that opening statement? In all fairness, Aang, he was great. My usual Marty. He sat and listened. He didn't interrupt me, he just listened carefully. He had a few questions to help clarify what I was saying and what I wanted. What did you tell him you wanted? A return to how things were before. He ends things with his girlfriend and we continue as we have for the past 7 years. Be patient and eventually it'll all work out for both of us. Angela nodded as she replied. Why change something that works? You've had 7 good years of marriage, and what? 3 years of dating before that? Why jeopardize a good thing? That was my point. He asked me where I see the relationship going, what I envision our marriage to be, and what I want from it. Was he defensive? Natasha quickly answered, not needing to think. No, not at all. He was more curious, I guess would be the right word. He encouraged me to talk. His questions were thoughtful. He didn't agree or make any demands, he just tried to understand my perspective. That's good. What did you tell him? I explained that I intend to continue seeing a lover. Charles for now because I enjoy his company and what he brings to my life, but it's likely that Charles will change in time and someone else will come along. I value our marriage and want it to grow and improve, just like he does. I want to have children, but just not yet. I'd rather establish my career first, live life a little, and then have kids. That's your part of the marriage. Did you set expectations for him?
Yep.
I want him to continue as he is. He's a great husband. He's kind, loving, and makes me feel valued. I know he supports me, not just at home, but in all aspects of my life. I don't want him to pursue other women. There's no need for it. If he wants a woman, choose me. Be patient. I know he wants things to change. I've heard him, and eventually they will. How did he take that? There was caution in Angela's tone. He told me he understood. He understood. Those were his words. He understood. Good. Then why is he still seeing that woman? Once I finished and he told me he understood, I thought we were done. Apparently not in his mind. Why? What more was there? Angela asked slowly. His side. Okay, his side. And what is that? He said that his view of our marriage is a bit different from mine. He feels that he contributes a lot to the marriage. He believes that our marriage and our relationship support the life that I want. He does what he can to make my life as enjoyable and fulfilling as possible. He strives to be the best partner he can be. That's what he's supposed to do. Exactly. He argued that I don't do the same. I behave like our marriage is solely for my benefit, and he's just there to cater to my desires. He said that? He said that? Pretty cheeky. Pa, he should be grateful to have you. Plenty of men out there would give anything for a wife like you. Thank you, Ang. It's nice to be appreciated. He suggested that we seek counseling, fix our marriage properly. He said it's becoming clear to him that he can make significant improvements. But there are some things he just can't seem to change. Maybe a professional can help us work through the expectations within our marriage. He's been thinking about this, hasn't he? Natasha nodded. Quite a bit, judging by how well he was able to explain his side. He was very calm during our conversation. He listened, explored my thoughts and feelings. I've seen negotiators at work, and he was as good as them. Did you point out to him that one of the differences between the two of you is work? It might have come up that I'm a junior partner at a prestigious law firm while he's a struggling artist. What did Mr. House husband say to that? That he wasn't a struggling artist, he was the CEO of his own company. He had a home office and studio, but he didn't work from home. He just arranged his work life to fit our life together. I think CEO is a bit of a stretch. Me too. His job title may be CEO, but he is the CEO of himself. CEO and cleaner. Angela laughed. I love little Marty, he's a gem. But there is no way the two of you bring the same amount to the marriage, no way. What I don't get is why now. I know, I totally agree. I asked him where all of this was coming from. Why was he getting upset now? Ooh, good question. What did he say? Natasha paused for a moment to let some tension build. His therapist and him had discussed our relationship, and his therapist had encouraged him to challenge me around the things he wasn't happy with. Therapist? Since when has Miss Marty been seeing a therapist? Exactly. I didn't know he was until I spoke with him, like I said. Amazing what you can find out. But he's been seeing him for about 5 years. Wow. What for? Anything specific or just, I don't know, felt like therapy? I can only tell you what he told me. He said that a few things had happened and made him realize that his life wasn't what he had thought it was going to be. Jesus, Marty. Talk about you, me, and every person on the planet. Aha. He'd had this realization and he was talking to someone at work and they suggested working with a therapist. Fast forward to today. This therapist, has he been the one guiding Marty? Giving him advice? Helping him grow? Apparently. I don't know who his therapist is, but I would like to, thank them one day for this. Angela laughed. Thank them by sending a nice gift. Him and the person at work he was talking to. I thought the little nerd worked by himself. I like the gift idea. I think he has people working for him. He's mentioned that a few times. Comments like I've recruited a new designer. He does say that quite a bit. I just figure he hires them, runs out of money, and then fires them. A few weeks later, rehires them. Great, nerds unite. A nerd heard, strength in numbers. They laughed for a moment and then sipped their drinks, pausing for a moment. A therapist, that would explain how Marty has been outsmarting you. Natasha nodded. He said something quite interesting. He said we're both human beings, both in love, that love should be the equalizing force. We both bring different strengths and weaknesses to the relationship. He felt I was undervaluing his. What did he see as being his? Helping me stay calm and focused was one. His ability to forgive and not stress over the small things. To be flexible with my wants and needs and accommodate them. He says he's a good husband, finding things for us to do, supporting me, and helping me grow as a person. Okay, I guess I can see that. Ever since you, perhaps even for me as well, met him at college, he's been good at getting us to focus on what we should be doing. We were kind of rebellious at school. Yeah, let's not forget, we were serious party girls at college, and he did help us to calm down and focus on our studies. I don't think my grades would have been nearly as good without his help. He listens and is good at encouraging you as well. Yeah, he is good at that. I think also he is good with the people from work. When I have dinners and events, he is good company. Small, but he says the right thing, makes small talk as he is supposed to. Props to him for that. He is very good at making sure I come home to a nice home every day. I know that there will be food on the table, good food. That the house is clean, laundry done, everything as I like it, and he does that perfectly. He does look good in an apron. He wore it the other day. Did he? Why? Natasha laughed. His last date was taking Aisha to the theater. He dressed up and looked incredible. I will be honest, when I saw how he looked and he told me where he was taking her, I was jealous. That would have been a lot of fun. You had Charles. I know, and he was great. But I don't know. Part of me wanted to be with Marty, dressing up and having a proper giggle together. You could have gone on another night. No, he got tickets for the last night. He made sure I wasn't going to go. Selfish. That Aisha's getting some different dates. She's coming back for more each time. I think she likes the unique experiences he's giving her. She coped with him dressing up? Yeah, I asked him about that, and he said he'd been totally upfront with her about it, and she was fine with it. You've got problems, girl. Some competition. I'm beginning to think so. They're spending a lot of time together. She's obviously enjoying it. They've been out 5 or 6 times, and she's still hanging around. He's been honest about it. Throw in the therapist, and I'll be lying if I said I wasn't worried. Time to cut Charles loose and give Marty some serious attention. I'm torn. Part of me says yes, the other part says that's him winning. That he's made a move and I've had to end things with Charles when I don't really want to. But Charles versus Marty? Marty wins every time. If I could only have one, it would be Marty, no question. Right. Well, in that envelope is everything you need to know about Aisha. The investigators are good guys. I've used them before at work, and they know their stuff. That folder should give you the info you need to know how to handle her. Natasha finished her food and put the plate to one side. She slid the envelope across the table and opening it, took out the contents. She began to look through different photographs of her husband's date. She's pretty. Not stunning, but she is pretty. Nice figure, slender, athletic. My bust is bigger. You've got her beat and looks nat. She looks a bit younger, but in terms of appearance, he would be trading a 10 for an 8. Same level as himself. Angela pulled a face at that question. She is a bit younger, graduate in journalism and works for a gaming blog. Well respected in the industry, good reputation. Journalist though, you're a lawyer. You've got her beat in that too. You must be out earning her by quite a bit. According to this, I am. But she does have a good reputation. Her finances are all right, but not as good as mine. She's doing okay though. You're more attractive, have a better job, and more money. There is no way she's as good in bed as you are. I mean, the experience you have and all. Hey, watch your language, Natasha laughed. Sorry, where's the competition here? Stable home life, parents still married. No siblings. A couple of previous boyfriends, all long-term relationships. She's not a player. Nat, that might be how to beat her. What? Have a talk with Ramon or Charles or one of your other friends and get them to befriend her. Those guys could charm anybody. Miss long-term relationships won't stand a chance. You'll be breaking them up and doing her a favor. Instead of stealing my Marty away from me, she'll be getting a ripe, experienced guy who'll be delighted to show her a great time. Natasha lifted her glass and toasted Angela. There are many reasons why you are my closest friend. Thank you for being there for me. Chapter 6. Angela knocked hard on the door, then banged with the flat of her hand. Come on, Nat, open up. She heard the latch click and saw the door swing open. She could see her friend on the inside, and she pushed her way into the apartment. Hey, give me a hug, girl. She held out her arms and felt Natasha move into her embrace. She could feel the small shudders as she cried. Angela held her for long minutes as Natasha fought to regain control. He left then? Natasha nodded, wiping the tears away from her eyes and leading Angela into the apartment. Angela could see the mess the place was in after a few steps into the room. When did he go? Last weekend. Why didn't you call me and get me over here? It's almost been a week. What have you been doing this past week besides ignoring me? She got a shrug in response. I can see it isn't cleaning or doing the dishes. Have you been to work? A shake of the head was her reply. All right, go and take a shower. Get yourself cleaned up and we'll talk when you're done. Angela watched her friend trudge off without any resistance. She looked as bad as she smelled. While she waited for her to shower and regain some sense of normality, she tidied up the living room area and the kitchen. It wasn't a thorough cleaning, but it was a noticeable improvement. After about half an hour, a wet-haired Natasha appeared wrapped up in a bathrobe. Have you eaten? Natasha looked blank and shrugged. I'll order some food. Pizza okay? Her question was met with a nod, and after a few minutes on her phone, she walked over and sat next to her friend on the couch. It'll be here in half an hour. I also ordered some ice cream. Is it okay if I stay the night? Natasha looked at her and gave her a grateful smile. I've messed everything up. Nonsense. This is just a temporary setback. Life goes on, and a year from now, you'll look back at this and smile. I don't think so, Ang. You should see this. Natasha got up from the sofa and walked through the kitchen towards the bedrooms. Angela followed her. Natasha opened the door to Martin's study and waited for her to catch up. The large painting on the easel was the only object left in the room. Everything else was gone. But the painting and its subject were so captivating that they drew the eye. Wow. Angela exclaimed. That is one intense painting. I found it after he left. I never come in here. It's mostly Marty's space, Natasha replied. The two women stood in silence, studying the painting for a few minutes. He's really talented. I had no idea, Angela commented. It's definitely a powerful piece. It sends a clear message. I love the attention to detail. Like when you're holding him down while I take his heart out and remove his bravery. I know the details really make it. He captured the perfect shade of red for the nails. Really? I didn't notice. Yeah, he nailed it. Angela chuckled. I guess he was upset when he painted this and wanted to express himself. The two women left the room, closing the door behind them, and returned to where they had been sitting. He asked me not to meet Charles. Oh, really? Yep, that's when everything fell apart. After our conversation, the next day he asked me to stop seeing Charles, to end it completely. He said it was my last chance to make a choice. What did you say? I told him I loved him and that I needed time to think. This was, what, Monday? I had all week to make up my mind. Or rather, I had time to make our plan work. Smart. Buy some time. Use the information I gave you to involve some friends and leave Marty on his own. Exactly. So I made him understand that I got what he wanted, but didn't understand his timing or why this was suddenly so important. I suggested that we both take some time to think and have a proper conversation about it. Smart move. Yeah, it gave us both time to think about what we really wanted to say, but he didn't go for it. He told me he had been clear over the past few weeks, and this was my deadline. If I wanted our marriage to continue, I had to stop seeing Charles immediately. I can't believe he challenged you like that. I know. He frustrated me with his ultimatum, so I just told him I would think about it and left him to sulk. That should give you some time. Did the boys get a chance to meet Aisha? Yep, they did their best. Both Rahman and Liam agreed and made a move on her. Who succeeded? Neither. She politely turned them down and made it clear she was in a committed relationship. Oh, what a shame. I know it's frustrating. Both ladies laughed. Their laughter was interrupted by a knock at the door, and Angela quickly went to answer it. She received the pizzas and, after giving a tip, the delivery driver left. Angela put the ice cream in the freezer and brought the pizza and a few napkins over to the couch where they were sitting. Natasha wasted no time and grabbed a slice, expressing her delight as she took a bite. Did you go on a starvation diet? Angela asked. Natasha nodded. I learned a while ago, Angela replied between bites of her own slice. When things are tough, a good night's sleep, some comfort food, and a long bath can help turn things around. This pizza is hitting the spot. They both ate in silence for a few minutes. Finally, Angela spoke. So, the plan didn't succeed. Not yet. I instructed them to keep pursuing her and offered a small incentive to see who could win her over first. as if they need any motivation to go after someone. I just have to be patient. The plan will work, and he will leave her. But it's hard to hold on to that hope when he's already left. Did he move in with her? Natasha shrugged. I don't know. He hasn't answered my calls, and I have no idea where he is or what he's doing. I just returned home on Saturday. Did you go out with Charles on Friday then? Yeah, same as usual. I went to our usual place for lunch on Saturday, but he didn't show up. Did he say anything to you? No. The last thing he said was on Thursday when he asked if I was staying home with him on Friday. I told him I was busy, and that was the last time we spoke. Wow, no warning signs or anything. None. He stood me up on Saturday, and it wasn't until later in the evening, after hearing nothing from him, that I realized he had moved all his things out of our place. Did he leave a note or anything? No, just the painting. It hurts seeing that. I can imagine. The way he portrays us isn't very flattering. I've tried calling him. He blocked my number. I've called him, messaged him, tried every way to contact him. I even reached out to his family and anyone who might know where he is. Nobody has any answers. You didn't call me. Natasha gave her a puzzled look. If he was with you, you would have told me. You're right about that. Let me try calling him. Angela picked up her phone and attempted to call Martin. He blocked me too. No surprise there. What do you want to do? Do you want to wait for him to come back with his tail between his legs, or do you want to take a more proactive approach? Proactive? How? Consider hiring a detective to find him, then go and see him. Maybe even try reaching out to Aisha, since he might still be seeing her. She might know where he is. Angela noticed the pain that briefly crossed Natasha's face. Nat, I'm sorry. I didn't think before I spoke. That was insensitive of me. I apologize, babe. Natasha was silent for a moment. Aang, I don't know what to do. I'm scared, really scared that I've lost him. I know he can be difficult at times, but he's my partner. I never thought, not even for a moment, that he would leave. She wiped her arm across her face. We have a good marriage. A damn good marriage. I love him, and I know he loves me. I know it. Then why didn't you stop seeing Charles when Martin asked you to? If you wanted him that much, why not give up seeing other men? Because I didn't appreciate what I had. Because I don't like being told what to do, especially by Marty. Ultimatums annoy me, and that's what he was giving me. From his perspective, he wanted to change the dynamics of our marriage, our relationship. He was trying to negotiate a better, healthier relationship, and I didn't engage in that. Natasha spoke quickly, her words pouring out. I always thought I was the smarter one, the more attractive one, the one with money. Why should I let him dictate the terms of our marriage? I'm the one who should decide, not him. She paused for a moment, and Angela decided it was best not to interrupt. But what if he was right? What if he saw something I didn't? I know he loves me and wants our marriage to succeed. What if he thought it was time for me to grow up and leave behind my affairs? What if he saw in me the potential to be a good mother and wanted to help me become that person? She tilted her head to the side. Aang, I've made a mess of things. He left me because I wouldn't even discuss changing our relationship. That's how selfish I am. I wouldn't even have a serious conversation with my husband about our future. And now you want him back. Now, when he left, not just threatened to leave but actually left, I realized what I had lost. I want to be his wife. I want to be the mother of his children, and I want to prove to him that I'm capable of being the person he sees in me. I want to become my best self. Has he served you with divorce papers yet? Natasha shook her head. Then you still have a chance. That means there's still time, but it's running out. I was hoping you would say that. I've been hoping. How do I find him? First, you need to decide if that's what you truly want. Nat, each time we've spoken, you've been torn between wanting Marty and the freedom to pursue other relationships. If you go and get him back, you're in a last-ditch effort. If you mess things up after you fix them, there's no going back. This is your moment to decide what you truly want. I know what I want. I want him back. I want my Marty, my husband. Even if it means giving up other men. I'll give all of that up. Completely. Okay, tomorrow I'll try to reach out to him. But how will you find him? I'll use my charm, beauty, and a private detective if necessary. They can be expensive, but since you'll be paying, I don't mind investing in their services. Thank you, Aang. Don't thank me yet, Nat. I have a feeling that the hardest part is yet to come. What do you mean? Have you ever considered counseling? I don't think you have. It can be a difficult process, like opening up your mind and soul to reveal all your hidden issues. If Marty has been seeking help, I'm certain he'll want it to be a condition for his return. Maybe it's something I should do for myself, not just for Marty or our marriage. There are a few things I need to address. Let me have a day or two, and then we'll see where we stand. Now, shall we talk about something a bit more uplifting? Chapter 7. So, Angela sat across from Nat, sliding herself into the booth. He'll be here in about half an hour. I wanted us to get here early so we can talk strategy. Good plan. What do you want out of this? My husband back, to be married again, all this mess behind us. What can I do to help you get that? There was a pause in the conversation. I don't honestly know. I've got no idea what to expect. He's been gone 3 weeks without any kind of conversation or contact. Not even an email. I don't know what he's thinking, where he is. I don't know anything. He's coming here to meet you. He's agreed to a face-to-face sit-down. It's only been 3 weeks and you've split up with Charles. You've done everything he asked you to. Because he walked out. Yeah, perhaps. But he'd be crazy to give you up. You're beautiful, have a great body, smart as heck, and have a great job. You've enjoyed your single life and now you're ready to settle down. It's a strong proposal. I don't think he sees it quite like that, Aang. I don't think this is going to be quick and easy. I'm scared he's already decided he's done. We haven't lost yet. Have some faith. The two of us make a great team. The two women ordered a drink and caught up. Are you looking forward to seeing him? Natasha nodded. I can't even tell you how much. It's been strange going home to our apartment and have him not there. I've had someone clean it. That's good to hear. Maybe I'll come over for a visit. Haha, it wasn't that bad. I've just never had to do all that domestic stuff. Oh, I could tell. I can't help but wonder what Marty has been doing with all the spare time that he's had since he left. Such a funny woman. I never realized before just how dry your sense of humor was. So, is it just a cleaning service you've invested in? Maid service to do the cleaning? I've hired someone to take care of my laundry. Wow, do you do anything yourself? I have a demanding job. I have to look good. I'm getting older. It does take time. Amen, sister. It's tough doing all this without Marty. Natasha nodded. I'll be honest, the part one miss most about him isn't the tasks he did, but all the little things. There were a lot. Listening to me vent about work, the dates he planned for us, the little gifts, the affectionate touches, just spending time together. He was there, around, under your feet. Is that what I said? Geez, I can be unappreciative. I hope he's feeling forgiving. What happens if he's not? Angela could see from the look on Natasha's face that she hadn't thought that through. I don't know. I've been focused on seeing him again and what I can say to him that will make a difference. I haven't thought about the next steps other than just how sweetly I will welcome him home. Angela laughed with excitement. If you need someone to capture the moment, just let me know. You are so mischievous. Angela shook her head. You are so daring. I hope Marty appreciates what he has with you as a wife. Natasha laughed. He should. I spent all that time with other people getting valuable experience that he can definitely enjoy. Excuse me, ladies. The two women stopped laughing and looked at the man who had just interrupted them. Yes? Which one of you is Natasha Johnson? Angela nodded at Natasha, who held up a hand. Do you have some identification, please? Natasha searched in her purse and pulled out her driver's license, which she handed over. The man quickly wrote some notes and gave it back. You are served. Here are some papers, Ma Am, he said, passing across a bulky manila envelope. Silently, Natasha accepted it. Your husband also asked that I give you this. I apologize. The man handed her a smaller envelope. He nodded at them and walked away from the table. Natasha sat with the two envelopes on the table in front of her. It felt like the world had just ended. All the air had been sucked out of the room. Angela reached over and touched the back of Natasha's hand. Doll. I'm sorry. Natasha didn't respond. She sat silently, staring at the envelopes. Angela reached for the bulky envelope and carefully tore it open. She pulled out the document and read the front page. Sorry, Nat, it's a petition for a divorce. He's doing it. She slid the documents back into the envelope. She reached for the smaller envelope. Natasha stopped her. "No, I'll open it. It's my marriage that's ending here. I don't want to hear the news secondhand. Whatever he has to say, I owe it to him to read it myself." She picked up the cream-colored envelope. It was heavy, good quality paper. Her name was printed neatly. On the front, she recognized her husband's handwriting. She slid a finger under the flap and opened it slowly. She unfolded the letter, her hand trembling. She inhaled the scent of the letter, smiling as she recognized the light fragrance. "Natasha, we are parting ways not because I don't love you, because I do. A piece of my heart will always be yours. I've never fully understood our relationship, not completely. I loved you and thought I was the luckiest person alive when you agreed to date me. I struggled with the price that came with being you, being engaged to you, and finally marrying you. I loved you, adored you, and believed that the price you demanded was worth the reward I was receiving. But the cost kept rising. You were asking me, pushing me to be someone I wasn't, and it diminished me. One day, a good friend suggested that I seek help. They didn't know what was wrong, but they could see that something was off. I listened and met one of the most influential people in my life. It took time, patience, and many tears. They helped me understand who I am, to accept that some of the things we did worked for me. They showed me how to embrace those things and be proud of them. They also helped me see that other aspects didn't work. They taught me how to distance myself from those things, to reduce their presence, and to begin building the relationship, the marriage, that I had always desired with you. Unfortunately, it became clear that we didn't want the same kind of marriage. Please sign the papers and release me. Let's look back on our marriage with fondness for each other and gratitude for the good times. My therapist was Dr. David Dorman. I highly recommend him to you. You will benefit from spending time with him. Lastly, I arranged this so that Aang is here with you to provide support. If you want one last piece of advice, spoken with love, marry her. That girl adores you and will do anything for you. Take care of yourself and thank you for all the love. Martin.